All right, let's jump right in. Today we're talking about what happens when two absolute giants collide. On one side, you've got machine learning, the brains behind all this crazy AI stuff. And on the other, the super high-stakes, wild world of Wall Street and mathematical finance. And really, it all comes down to this one kind of mind-blowing question. Can code actually predict the future of money? I mean, can we really teach a machine to look at the market and tell us what's going to happen next? That's the core idea we're digging into today.
So here's how we're going to tackle this. First up, we'll get a handle on what machine learning even means. Then, we'll look at the big money problems finance has been trying to solve forever. After that, we'll smash them together and see what happens when AI plays the market. And stick around, because at the end, I'll give you a roadmap if you want to learn this stuff yourself.
Okay, so to really get what's happening on Wall Street, you first got to understand the tool that's shaking everything up. So let's start there. Let's talk about machine learning.
So what in the world is machine learning? Well, think of it like this. Instead of giving a computer a super detailed list of instructions for every single possibility, like if this, then that, you just show it a ton of examples, and I mean millions. You let the computer figure out the patterns for itself. It basically learns from experience, just like we do, but way, way faster. And it turns out there are a few different ways machines can learn. First, you've got supervised learning. This is where you're like a teacher. You give the AI data that's already labeled. This email is spam, this one's not. Its goal is just to learn how to make those predictions on new stuff. Then there's unsupervised learning. This is more like being a detective. You just dump a bunch of messy, unlabeled data on the AI and say, find something interesting in here. It's great for discovering hidden groups like different types of customers. And finally, reinforcement learning. This is pure trial and error. The AI tries something, gets a reward or a penalty, and just keeps trying to maximize its score. It's exactly how AIs get so ridiculously good at video games. Okay, so behind all these learning styles, there's a whole toolkit of algorithms. You can think of them as the basic recipes that make all this work. You've got things like linear regression and decision trees. They're the bread and butter. But there's one particular recipe that has just completely changed everything.
And that, right there, is the neural network. Seriously, this is a big one. The whole idea is inspired by how our own brains are wired. They are just phenomenal at finding super complex, almost invisible patterns buried inside mountains of data.
So why should you care? Because neural networks are pretty much the engine driving modern AI. I'm talking about the tech that lets your phone recognize your face, the stuff that powers self-driving cars, and, as we're about to see, it's the reason an algorithm can look at the stock market and see things that no human being could ever hope to spot.
All right, so we've got our tool, machine learning. Now, let's talk about the job it's being hired for. We're stepping into the world of mathematical finance. I know, sounds complicated, but really it's just the field that for decades has been trying to use pure math to find some kind of order in the total chaos of the financial markets.
And for the longest time, the folks in this field have been wrestling with these huge, fundamental questions. I mean, how do you actually measure risk? Like, put a real number on it. How do you decide what a super complicated thing like a stock option is actually worth? And the big one, how on earth do you model the stock market, which just seems to bounce around totally at random?
For years, one of the best answers they had, especially for that pricing question, was something called the Black-Scholes model. This thing was a huge deal. It won a Nobel Prize. It was this beautiful mathematical equation that gave everyone a logical, repeatable way to figure out how to price options.
And this is so important because it really shows you the old school way of thinking. Black-Scholes was genius, right? It gave finance a common language to talk about risk. But, and this is a huge but, it was all built on one giant assumption, that the market basically moves randomly. It was a fantastic model for a world without hidden patterns, and finding hidden patterns is exactly what machine learning is built to do. See where this is going?
Okay, so we have our super-powered pattern-finding tool, machine learning, and we have our big, chaotic, complex problem, finance. So, what happens when we put them together? This is where it all gets really, really interesting.
Just take a look at this side by side for something like managing risk. The old way, you're looking at historical models, you've got humans trying to analyze stuff, it's slow and you're always looking backwards. Now look at the ML-powered way. It's drinking from a fire hose of real-time data, constantly running predictions about what could happen next, and it can spot something weird, an anomaly, the instant it happens. It's a total paradigm shift.
Okay, so how does an AI trading bot actually do its thing? It's basically a four-step loop running at lightning speed. Step 1, ingest. It's just consuming everything. Newsfeed, stock prices, social media chatter, you name it. Step 2, identify. This is where those neural nets kick in, finding tiny, subtle patterns that no human analyst would ever catch. Step 3, predict. Based on those patterns, it makes a guess about which way a stock is about to move. And finally, step 4, execute. It automatically places the trade in milliseconds. This isn't some futuristic idea. On any given day right now, bots like this are responsible for more than 70% of all trades on the US stock market. It's already here.
And this isn't just about some Wall Street high-frequency trading stuff either. Machine learning is everywhere in finance now. It's being used for everything from long-term stock market predictions and managing risk in your retirement portfolio, all the way down to calculating your credit score and instantly flagging a fraudulent charge on your credit card. It's already a fundamental part of the system.
Okay, so after all that, you might be thinking, wow, this is a lot, and it's fascinating, but how would anyone even get started in this field? That's a great question, and believe it or not, there's actually a pretty clear roadmap if you're curious.
It all starts with building a solid math foundation. You got to get comfortable with things like linear algebra and probability. That's step 1. Then, step 2, you dive into the core ML concepts, a lot of the stuff we just talked about. Step 3, you've got to learn the language of finance, understand risk, derivatives, all that good stuff. And then, the final step, the magic step, is where you combine it all. You start working on actual projects, applying those ML algorithms to real financial data. That's where the learning really happens.
Which brings us to one last really big question to leave you with. As these machines get smarter and smarter with our money, as they take on more responsibility for managing huge funds and shaping the markets, what does that actually mean for the future of the economy? And more importantly, what does it mean for us? For our jobs, our savings, our financial lives? Definitely something to chew on. Thanks so much for joining me.